trap with pistols is finna clap. These eaves is finna scrap. We in the trenches with these scriptures, real block boys. 80 cal popping, we hopping out on your block, boy. In your city and we spitting easy pistols. We jacking all of the pimp hoes, killers, and drug dealers. Come, we yelling out Shalom. Trying to bring the peace in the streets, I be dropping bombs. Wait, I'm T1 from the bottom of the map. And I'm still lone wolf on the corner from the trap. I'm an old man's dream, wild dog unchained. I'm the nightmare on Elm Street, in the land of the slain. Niggas claim to be real as Abel, with the spirit of Cain. And Judas kissed their own brother for a ring or chain. It's 12 tribes worldwide till the king come. Israel, no disrespect in the kingdom. Jeshurun lions, what you know about the kings in them? The daughters of Zion, what you know about the queens in them? Hebrew hood music, Karima, let's get it poppin'. It's Fringe Gang, Blue Ribbon Army, we for the martyr. Hey, I'm T1 with them pistols of epistles, and I'm still lone wolf, slanging quarter keys and scriptures like calm. You messing with some real block boys, precepts loaded, that's why we open up the shop, boy. Down the street, on the corner from the trap, with pistols is finna clap, these eaves is finna scrap. We in the trenches with these scriptures, real block boys. 80 cal popping, we hopping out on your block, boy. In your city and we spitting easy pistols. We jacking all of the pimp hoes, killers, and drug dealers. Some say that I'm peculiar, some say I'm insane. I feel like Ghost, I got the power, and the rest of y'all can't. I'm going shim, y'all going ham, like the natives of Canaan. And 2/3 of the world under the fire like Canaan. Most of y'all got itching ears, but do you hear what I'm saying? You think his grace is just a game, that's why y'all Judas is playing. When the king hit the scene, the only thing is slaying. Eternally death flees, but your body decaying. It's 12 tribes worldwide till the king come. It's Israel, no disrespect in the kingdom. Jeshurun lions, what you know about the kings in them? The daughters of Zion, what you know about the queens in them? Hebrew hood music, Karima, let's get it poppin'. It's Fringe Gang, Blue Ribbon Army, we full of martyrs. Hey, I'm real Judah with them curses on my plate, and I'm still lone wolf from the state to the lake right now. You messing with some real block boys, precepts loaded, that's why we open up the shop, boy. Down the street, on the corner from the trap, with pistols is finna clap, these eaves is finna scrap. We in the trenches with these scriptures, real block boys. 80 cal popping, we hopping out on your block, boy. In your city and we spitting easy pistols, we jacking all of the pimp hoes, killers, and drug dealers. Come, you messing with some real block boys, precepts loaded, that's why we open up the shop, boy. Down the street, on the corner from the trap, with pistols is finna clap, these eaves is finna scrap.
Yeah, peace to mad scientists. Salute to them brothers, the Fringe Gang Army. I like that song. Y'all keep doing y'all thing. You can catch me on Facebook, TikTok, Bang, Active Mad Scientists. My YouTube now is LDC TV 804. I'm bringing out LDC TV, bringing back Life Death Conflict, and True Hot 30 on Instagram. I got 2 good presentations for y'all. But I'm going to let Karima, the Queen of the Lion's Den, introduce herself before we start.
Please hit the like. That was T1 Lone Wolf. You got a release album coming out, so I'm be hosting it. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, hope you enjoy the show.
Okay, I'm about to get to this first. I might put the wrong one up. Oh no, that's all right. All right, got to get to this presentation, Humans and Earth. How we connected to the Earth and how we are similar to the Earth. I'm using science to show, because people want to say that the Adam and Eve is coming from the Earth. That story can't be true. So I'm showing that how it can, and how we are connected to the Earth, and how we depend on the Earth, and how we actually represent the Earth as human beings. Then I'm going to cloning, and I'm going to gene editing, because I think these things we need to update on in our science and understand the things they're trying to do, because this really is going to be affection. It's going to affect our future. So This thought. Humans and Earth connection. I just wanted to put this out because I be hearing a lot of people, say that we came in different ways. A lot of people go through the evolution and all that stuff. This is my just showing research of why I say that we are connected to this, what you call we are connected to the Earth, and we are Earth ourselves. Okay, so let me get to it. The human body and the planet Earth are also made from the same elements. In fact, we share 97% of the atoms in common with the rest of the galaxy. Oxygen accounts for more weight than any other element, both Earth and human body. It's no coincidence the humans are made from the elements most common on planet Earth. After all, we are a product of our environment. If you spend some time thinking about it, we bet you can come up with even more similarities. So just talking about the elements, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with us that goes on with the planet, man. We are a big planet. We are connected to the universe. We are special people. Don't let these people come and tell you that you just some type of a regular animal like everybody else. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Humans and Earth are both made up of mostly water. If you think about it, the human body is a lot like the planet Earth. What do they have in common? We can think of one major similarity. Here's a hint. It can exist as a solid liquid or gas. That's right, both the human body and planet Earth are largely made up of water. On Earth this is a plenty I mean this is pretty obvious. From space, you can tell that 71% of the planet is water. Many don't realize through the water also makes up 60% of the human body. That's why it's so important to drink enough water each day. It helps keep your body healthy. Okay, so it's talking about how most of the planet is it's 11% higher. What they're saying is 71% of the planet is is Earth. I mean, it's water, and 6% of our body is water. That's why we dehydrate so quick and so fast. Trust me, I dehydrate at least once a year. There's one big similarity between the human body and the planet Earth that we haven't mentioned yet. They're both diverse ecosystems. Earth is home to at least 8.7 billion species. On a smaller scale, the human body hosts about 10,000 species. Yes, you read it right. 10,000 different forms of life may be living in your body right now. In fact, experts say that about 90% of the cells in your body are not human. Instead, they belong to other organisms. Most of the time, the organisms that live in the human body are harmless. Some even do important jobs to keep people healthy, but others, like some viruses and bacteria, can make the body sick. Similarly, life on Earth can impact the planet in negative ways. So we have species living on our body too. We don't know these species are working together and helping us survive and live just like we do on this earth, just like the planet and the solar system do with the universe. Everything works together. Everything works to help, but then you got some things that comes and destroys. And it's the argument we're gonna have later on with people talking about are we the virus not on this earth? I'm gonna let you decide. The similarities don't stop there, though. Have you learned about veins and arteries in school? The blood vessels work as part of the circulatory system. They move blood throughout the body to help keep you alive. Similarly, rivers and streams serve and carry water throughout the planet, playing a role in sustaining life on Earth. In fact, both the human body and the planet Earth have several connected systems that support life: the respiratory, digestive, reproductive, um, musculoskeleton, musculoskeleton, nervous, and immune system all play important roles in human life. The planet stability relies on the balance of air, water, land, life systems. Okay, so it's saying we as humans, man, we depend on a lot of stuff the same as the earth does. And we actually rely on the earth on the certain things, the earth rely on us on certain things. Okay. Humans are the virus on earth. History, UCLA, education, humans and the environment. Okay, this is where I got this from. This part right here is going to basically talk about how they, they are not saying they like this article that I got it from is not saying that we're a virus. So let me say that I'm saying that for me from reading this, that's what they're basically trying to say that you know we are becoming the virus on the earth because of things that we're doing. All right, let me read this to you. As humans develop more and more powerful technologies, they begin to extract more resources and energy from the natural environment. Farmers found that by cultivating the land and by domesticating animals and plants, they could produce far more food from a given area of the land. As population grew, humans got better and better at extracting more resources from the natural environment. Today, we control as much as 40% of the energy available to support life on Earth. But the more timber, food, water, and fuel we take from the natural environment, the less is available to other species. Our impact becomes greater and greater on other animals and plants, on the world's oceans and waterways, on the air and on the land. Today, our impact is so great that we are in danger of undermining many of the natural systems on which our lives depend on. So it's just telling you. There's a lot of stuff we were doing once we start learning how to extract and take from the earth and take stuff out, you know, is making it work extra harder. It's putting pressure on the earth, it's putting stress on the earth. Understanding our changing relationship with the environment is therefore at the core of the historical understanding. It involves great grappling with the questions of how humans have lived, how they have treated the earth, and how their power over the earth has grown. Understanding the changing relationship between humans and the environment and the world's past may be first steps towards finding a less damaging relationship in the future. Okay? So what's saying is the way we should care about body, the way we should care about the earth, because we know we're doing stuff to damage our body, then we gotta understand we're doing stuff to damage this earth, man. And we gotta take care of both, you know. And and I know it's hard to do, trust me. I'm trying to do it myself. Our boycotters disagree with us being a virus to the earth, okay? Putting people against nature is also a relatively recent construct. This idea of human versus nature, as opposed to humans and nature, might stem from Western dualism. In philosophy such as Cartesian body, mind body duality, early settlers to the New World viewed nature and wilderness as something to be conquered and tamed. When you love the planet leads to the deep disdain for humanity. You need to reassess why you are an environmentalist or why you're environmentalist in the first place. If you believe that the earth is better off without us, that includes you too. And if we're all gone, there won't be anyone around to appreciate an earth that's whole and free of destruction. So I say, embrace your love of humanity, fellow environmentalists. Let the love drive you and heal the earth instead of the hate for our people. Ultimately, we have a world to win, one in which there's enough room for all of us. Okay. So they're just saying why we trying to pin us against the earth and say that everybody is the virus. They're basically saying that it's not the humans like it's not just everybody. It's certain individuals that have power that's doing this stuff. Okay, so we need to stop saying like we're humanity as a virus. That's what they're trying to say. Okay, all right. Let me get to my next one. All right. All right, now this is what is cloning. Three types of cloning. Can cloning be natural? And I got a little bit of gene editing in a lot of that, but I'm just trying to get people to catch up with the technology, and that's why some people ask why I call myself the mad scientist. I call myself the mad scientist, right? Because like I said, I'm trying to expose the things, the mad science that they're making to create the destroyers, or track us or enslave us, like 5G, like smartphones, smart buildings, smart cars, how they can track us, face recognition, gene editing, cloning. All these things are things that they're using for agenda. Not necessarily all against us though. Not all against us. It's just as humanity. All right. So let's go. What is cloning? The term describes a number of different processes that can be used and produce genetically identical copies of a biological entity that copy material which has the same genetic makeup as the original. It is referred to as a clone. Researchers have cloned a wide range of biological materials, including genes, cells, tissues, even entire organisms such as sheep. Okay. So it's making an identical genetic copy. Okay. That's why I say when they growing weed, they clone weed, they clone the weed plants. You can clone weed plants, all type of stuff, yourself. All right. It ain't gonna be as, technical and as advanced as this, but all right, let's go. Three types of cloning. There are three types of artificial cloning: gene cloning, reproductive cloning, and therapeutic cloning. Gene cloning produces copies of genes of segments of DNA. Reproductive cloning produces copies of whole animals. Therapeutic cloning produces embryonic stem cells for experiments aimed at creating tissue to replace injured and diseased tissues. Gene cloning, also known as DNA cloning, is a very different process from reproductive and therapeutic cloning. Reproductive and therapeutic cloning share many of the same techniques but are done from different purposes. Okay, gene cloning. Gene cloning is a common practice in molecular, molecular biology labs that is used by researchers to create copies of particular gene for downstream applications such as sequencing, mutagenesis, um, genotyping, and heterologous expression of protein, heterologous expression of protein. Okay, so this is the DNA cloning, gene cloning. This is the process they go through. Okay, Reproductive cloning. Reproductive cloning is defined as deliberate production of genetically identical individuals. Each newly produced individual is clone of the original. Identical twins are natural clones. All right, so that's the only other natural way you get it is natural cloning. It's the twins. But this process right here, I'm gonna show you what they do is they take the cell from the male, they take the uterus from the woman, they fuse the egg, they fuse the cell together, make the embryo, take the whole thing, put it back in another woman, and she produces it. This is what they do with the animals. They haven't came out yet and made it a fact that they clone a human, but they are cloning animals. Okay, and the first one was Dolly. Okay, we will get to her. All right, therapeutic cloning. What is therapeutic cloning? Therapeutic cloning involves creating a clone embryo for the sole purpose of producing embryonic stem cells with the same DNA as the donor cell. These stem cells can be used in experiment aimed at understanding disease and developing new treatments for disease. Okay, so this what I didn't like about it. Because when you create an embryo, to me, an embryo is the first beginning of life, right? I mean, that's what it basically is, the beginning um of birth, of life, or pregnancy. Um, so when you making an embryo and then they taking the stems out and they not even letting the embryo grow and basically it dies off, I mean, to me, it's almost a form of abortion. You know what I mean? But hey, but you're doing it in a acceptance way because you're saying it's for to help other people. Hey, so I mean, it's how you take it. Can human cloning happen naturally? Okay, natural clones, also known as identical twins, occur in humans and other mammals. These twins are produced when a fertilized egg splits, creating two or more embryos that carry almost identical DNA. Identical twins have nearly the same genetic makeup as each other, but they are genetically different from either parent. Okay. What is identical twins have nearly the same genetic makeup as each other, but they are genetically different from either parent. Okay. But you say identical twins, they basically are a clone of each other. It's basically are a clone of each other. Because a clone is, you're taking your cell, that which is you, and then you're copying it. Which is when you use the sperm is another entity that becomes a human being on Earth. So that's the two things. So the cell is a copy of you. The cell is part of you. It's not something that you're giving out. That's another being, and we don't understand how special we is as humans when we talk about this. Dolly, first mammal clone, and who cloned Dolly? Okay, first clone adult mammal, Dolly, female fin Dorset sheep that lived from 1996 to 2003. The first clone. Let's see if anybody's saying something. Shalom, JJ. The first clone, an adult mammal, produced British development biologicus Ian Wilmot and colleagues of the Rosalind Institute near Edinburgh, Scotland. And the announcement of February 1997 of Dolly's birth marked a milestone in science, dispelling decades of presumption that the adult mammals could not be cloned and igniting a debate concerning the many possible uses of and misuses of mammalian cloning technology. And people always ask why people don't clone people yet, because you got to realize when you're doing this stuff, right? There's laws being passed, and it's organizations that's fighting against you to be able to do it. So you got human organizations that's saying that this is unhuman to do what you're doing. Then you got animal lovers. You got animal organizations that saying this is inhuman what you're doing to these animals. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's harder. That's why it's so hard for these type of things. That's why it takes so long to to come into the public because they're fighting behind the scenes so long. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the dark science or the mad science where they go and they are doing secretly science. They'll just go to the hood and spray stuff and see what it does to the community. They'll go, you know, they're the stuff that you be hearing about. They're doing that illegally because it's so the wall is so high for them to come across with that type of science that they're trying to work on. So they have to secretly do it to keep the study going. All right. Who cloned Dolly? The Rosalind Institute of Animal Science Research Institute of Easter Bush, Midlothian, Scotland, part of the University of Edinburgh, and is founded by the Biotechnology and Biological Science Research Council. Okay. How much does it cost to get your pets cloned? And Percy used to always tell me, man, cloning ain't real, man. Everybody cloning this and this. I said, man, you go get your pet cloned right now, okay? How much does it cost to get your pet cloned? The cost of dog cloning is 50,000, paid in two equal statement installments. The total cost of cat cloning is 50,000, also paid in two equal installments. The total cost of horse cloning is 85,000, also paid in two equal installments. Okay, so they are cloning. They've been cloning for a long time. They know the process of how to clone a human. It's been said, and it has a conspiracy theories of that has been two people that I know have been cloned. You know, it's one child that was I think was cloned in the 90s, and then it was somebody else that said I think it's this cult group called the Urians. So they're kind of like the opposite of they're like a branch off cult of like a Israelite type group, but they're like weird. They kind of like they talk about aliens and stuff like that. So um, but yeah they but yeah so they know how to do it. But like I said, so right now it's kind of like inhumane for them to clone. But they already doing stuff like um mess with our genetics to where you can create your own baby down in there. Like you can go and say, I want my baby to have blue eyes because they know about the gene pool. They know how the genes work. And once you know how kind of get an assumption how the genes work, how a person gets green eyes, a person get blue eyes, a person has red hair, a person got freckles, a person got this, a person gets this, the sickness, all that comes from through the genes being passed down through generation to generation to generation. Like genetic engineering, my bad. Editing. I mean to put the B right there. Genetic gene editing, right? Now I'm gonna read this first, and I'm gonna explain what gene editing means. Alteration of the genetic material of a living organism by inserting, replacing, or deleting a DNA sequence, typically with the aim of improving some characteristics of a crop or farm animal and correcting a genetic disorder. Gene editing to date has focused on curing single point mutations such as sickle cell anemia. So I had got on this a while ago. It's basically a thing is what they're trying to do. They're trying to cut out the genes, right? It's called gene scissors. They're trying to cut out the part of the genes that keep you sick, that you could pass on, and try to replace it with an artificial gene. So when they create the artificial gene, this is what science is trying to prove and see if they can ever prove this, right? They're trying to prove, can a human being live forever, or or are human beings only dying because of a disease? Like ask yourself, do you know anybody that just died from old? What is old age? See, that's the thing. Nobody just dies because they're old. Somebody died, they're dying because their heart stopped for some reason, or they caught cancer, or this happened, or something popped in, or a blood clot popped in their head, anything like that. So what they're saying is they could have stopped the diseases being passed on and passed on and passed on. They can eventually make humans that can live way longer. But then if they do that and humans be able to live, I'm gonna just say two, three, 400 years, then they can't say that stuff in the Bible is fake when they say people have lived that long. Is what I'm saying. So science is not just proving that part, and they're actually proving that part if they actually can do that. All right. Now, Chris is this is what I'm saying. If you see right here, you see it, they take it. You see how they take it. All right. They take. I think it's I don't know if it's the nanobites or whatever. They take it's like these Jones that go in there and they attack it. They it's like they workers and they take the gene, they take it out, and then they create another one, replace it. They build another one right there. You see what I'm saying? And they trying to make a perfect human, man. That's what this was basically what they trying to do. And they trying to say if they can cut the genes out, um, strokes, stuff like that. How long will he actually live? All right, CRISPR gene editing. Dr. Emmanuel Carpentier, one of our scientists, founders, and co-invented CRISPR gene editing. Until then, people knew CRISPR only as an acronym for the clustered, regularly interspaced short palindrome, repeats of genetic information that some bacterial species use a part of the antiviral mechanism. Now, as a gene editing tool, CRISPR has revolutionized biomedical research and may soon enable medical breakthrough in a way few biological innovations have before. CRISPR edits genes by precisely cutting DNA and then let natural DNA repair. Process to take over the system consists of two parts: the Cas9 ex, ex, enzyme Eximi and Guy RNA. All right. So this one I'm talking about. I don't think I have them though. I just wanted to talk because after this, I just wanted to say again, we had to focus and get the understanding of what they're trying to do. A lot of this stuff is dangerous of what they're doing. Trust me, they're going to experiment on people without them knowing. 'Cause that's what they do, and that's what they've been doing. And what's going to happen is they're going to experiment on somebody. They're going to experiment on people. They die, they don't die, whatever happens, right? We're not going to know it's about 20, 30, 40 years later like they've been doing. And what happens is when if you do something in the 70s and you telling people in the 2000s, they ain't going to care just that as much, okay? Because they ain't the ones that got affected. Well, they are the ones that got affected because it's actually when you create something, your grandfather, when their grandmother and all them create something, their genes like that, it gets passed down to you. So yes, whatever does happen in your past does affect you. So do understand that. But I'm gonna start coming up, man. I got so much more information I'm about to come with, man. So stay tuned. Check me out on that Lions Den. I've been on the Lions Den a lot, just putting my stuff out there. Kareem and JJ, they always supported me. Peace to Elder Yasha. I know he has something to do. But I'm gonna come with some more fire and hey, if somebody can give me a good debate, on something a good topic, I'll get in it. So peace out. Hope y'all enjoyed. You know, I might do another one today since I'm off, Yeah, that was my first one for y'all. You know, and this is why I wanted to say it before I go to the next one. Why I would say it's so dangerous because look up gender X. Now, what they're doing is they're creating a thing called gender X. Where nobody had. Well, they're doing it right now in New York. When you have a baby, you can put gender X in your certificate. When you do that, that means the child doesn't have any gender. So, say you are supposed to be male, right? But you are gender X, and you mess with another male that's gender X, they would consider that not homosexuality. That's what they're trying to do. Secondly, the reason they're cloning because that they understand now that they can take a uterus out and put it into somebody else. So now when they do gender reassignments, meaning that when they take a man and turn him into a woman and they cut everything off and make the slit and make the vagina, now they're trying to find a way to put the uterus in because the first thing we used to tell a tranny is you can't have a baby, so you'll never be a woman. So now this is the next step that they're trying to do. So now they understand to take the uterus out and they put it in. So when they put it in, now you can have now they're trying to make a tranny who used to be a man. Now he'll be able to have a baby. And this is the dangerous part because now with the gender changing and the homosexual acceptance, now a lot of women or a lot of men that turn into women is going to be able to mess with men and not say that they were ever born a man. And this is going to be the dangerous part of that. Okay. Now I'm going to my I'm going to show this presentation. This is Science versus YAKub. Um, the reason I wanted to do this you just see, I was talking to somebody about it, and we were speaking on, what Elijah was saying. I heard some people saying the science actually agree 100%. I mean, what science are starting now to teach what Elijah was teaching. So I went into the science to see and compared it to see exactly if it says the same thing. And we're about to get to it. All right. Let me do this presentation thing. There you go. Okay. I gotta share that. All right. That's it. Oh, no. So, yeah, my bad, y'all. Let me get to this. For some reason, ain't let me pull it up. There you go. Right. Share it again. Yeah, but I'm just comparing to see.
It was up there at first.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm sharing it now. I was trying to put it on presentation, but it didn't let me do it. But I'm about to do it now. All right. Okay, now it'll let me do it. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to right here. There you go. All right. That signs agree with Elijah and YAKub. Like I said, I heard back in the day Yakub's story, and it was like, okay, he created these people and he mixed them up and mixed them up lighter and lighter and lighter until it became European. A lot of us believe this and believe this to be true. And then I went into science, and then there's just certain things that I'm gonna say that I didn't agree with, and that science don't agree with, science might can agree with. All right, let's go to it. I'll just let you do when y'all see this on my Facebook page, the Eric Man Science page. This is who this is. It's supposed to be YAKub, and this is the teachings. I know you don't heard a lot of Nation of Islam say this before. God is generator, operator, destroyer, stuff like that. So this is where that comes from. All right. NOI's official teaching included references to whites as blue-eyed devils, according to W.D. Farad, NOI founder. Whites were created by a big-headed black scientist named YAKub. YAKub was born in Mecca more than 6,000 years ago and created a religion-based science known as tricknology, or the science of deception. He considered himself a god, the messenger of Carl Evans, or the message to the black man by Elijah Muhammad. The genetic theory was Yakub's discovery that white people had a single gene for pigment, skin color, while blacks had two. Therefore, only blacks could produce white men through systematic interracial mixing over many centuries. Okay, so I mean, he getting to a point right there that makes a lot of sense. All right. NOI leader Elijah Muhammad explained that Yakub was born to make trouble, break peace, kill and destroy his own people with a made enemy to a black nation, reiterating the NOI's belief in the existence of Yakub during the 2020 speech. NOI leader Louis Farrakhan commented that when the white man was made, his father was a liar, his father was a murderer, so they are born with a lie and murder in their nature. So this is what he's saying, that this big head scientist literally wanted to create these people to be an enemy to his people. So let's get to that. We can see why. The story of Yakub, Creation of the White Man by Jimmy Butts. Okay, Jenkins, STBS, Education, the Southern Theological Seminary. All right. Regarding the nation's belief about the devil, Muhammad explains that 6,600 years ago, the black nation gave birth to a god named Yakub. He proceeds, when Yakub was 6 years old, one day he was sitting down with two pieces of steel. He noticed that the magnetic power in the steel attracting the other. He looked up at his uncle and said, "Uncle, when I get to be old man, I am going to make a people who shall rule you." The uncle said, "What will you make? Something to make mischief and cause bloodshed in the land." Yakub said, "Nevertheless, uncle, I know that which you do not know." Okay. Now, I'm gonna just tell you that for me studying Nation Islam, they use a lot of scripture, they use a lot of stories, and I noticed that they flipped it around to benefit of making uh, uh, black supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of stuff that I've seen from the Nation of Islam, and I always want to say that anybody that's claiming they're gods got it straight directly from the Bible. There's no, in ancient times, no people as a whole nation that ever said it was gods. When you go to Kemet, it was only the pharaohs, it was only royalty. When you go all these other nations with royalty, with kings. There's no nation that they're going to show you of a nation of people, of a whole people like we are, when we say we are gods because we're the children of the Most High. So anybody that say they're gods, I don't care who it is, got it from the scripture, okay? So from studying the germ of the black man under a microscope, Yakub discovered that there were two people in him. One was black, the other was brown. Yakub decided that he could graft a white person through a process of separating the black and brown germs. Through a series of events, Yakub was exiled with a group of followers to an island where he would continue his plan to graft the white race through a system of birth control. He instructed the doctor to not allow two black people to marry and have children. Only two brown people could marry. Furthermore, he ordered the nurses to kill all black babies at birth by pricking the brains with a sharp needle. Now me studying science, I don't really agree with that part, because just because you mix a brown and brown don't mean you can make a lighter baby. You see what I'm saying? Because they still have a gene. If there's some of their ancestors who are dark skinned, they can actually still produce dark skin. If they have white ancestry in them, they're white. And all white people are not created just by one gene. It's different genes that creates the modern white person. And people don't really understand it, meaning that the blue-eyed, blonde-haired white person might have came from a certain place than the red-haired white person, and then this other white person, they might have mixed up. So now that some of them can come up with red hair, and some of them come up with blonde hair, blue eyes. It's different things when you mix it up. Okay, so That's just one thing I don't agree with, because if you have the ancestry of dark and white, they necessarily not going to come out light just because two brown people, have babies. All right. Now this is the process of how he's saying that it's created. This is how they saying it's created through the years. This long process eventually culminated, accumulated in his desired ends. After the first 200 years, Mr. YAKub had done away with the black babies, and all were brown. After another 200 years, he had all yellow and red, which was 400 years after being on Palin. Another 200 years, which brings us to the 600th year. YAKub have an all pale white race of people on the Isles. Thus, the nation of Islam believes that the race of white people is the originator of sin, murder, lying, and injustice. They are the enemies of the black race, and they prey on those who do not have the knowledge of self. Part of this self-knowledge is an understanding of who God is. The concept of an immaterial mystery God was taught to the devils by their father YAKub. Now, there's another I don't agree with. They saying the mystery God is created by YAKub and taught to them. Okay, and they're saying that they're saying that we are literally God. So when other people are saying they're gods, understand that they are saying that they are God. There is no God. And then you had to ask them, well, how's the universe created in the earth and humans? And then watch the answers they give you. It sounds ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? But we said we are gods because the children of the Most High. So anybody use that scripture, make sure you hit them with that and understand. Don't finish with that verse and say we are gods. Say we are gods because of what? Because we are children of Yah. All right, let's go. By the age of 18, YAKub graduated from college and universities of his nation. 20 miles outside the present-day Mecca, Saudi Arabia, YAKub began to teach this doctrine called trigonometry. His holy book was called the Book of Trigonometry of 120 degrees. He told his followers if they follow his doctrine, they could rule the world for 6,000 years and make the slaves of everyone else. YAKub's large following and teaching began to intimidate the king of his nation, so he was put in jail. YAKub and the king made a deal while he was in jail. The deal was for the king to give him and his followers everything they needed to start their own civilization and leave their current land. YAKub and his 59,999 followers moved to the island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea. There he formed his government, headed with a nurse, doctor, priest, and cremator. Okay, so they're saying he actually had a book. I don't know if they got to say they got the book of YAKub. I ain't know. Don't think I'm not trying to make fun of Elijah. I respect Elijah, because he got women to dress and he got men to get off drugs. So I never disrespect Elijah. I loved Elijah. I love the Farrakhan. I don't agree with what they teach. I don't agree with some of the things they did. But our ancestors always sinned, even all the way into the Bible. We always was falling short, and that's why we should never worship any man, because we always gonna fall short. All right, and then we got to realize this man was teaching in the 1930s and 40s. I mean, come on, man, it's not the same as now. Is that information we're talking about maybe 40 years, 50 years after slavery. All right. According to the final call, the Nation Islam official newspaper, the blacks who came with YAKub to the island were placed under a system of laws by which mating was based on skin color and which only lighter, complex babies were allowed to survive. Over the course of many generations, the population of Patmos began to grow lighter and lighter until after 600 years of this dedicated grafting process, the people became very pale with blue eyes and blonde hair. 95% of YAKub's followers discovered that the grafting process, including killing people, so they lost loyalty to his mission. YAKub had intense hatred in his heart and died of a brain tumor at the age of 150. his remaining followers carried on his mission. And this is another thing they keep saying. You can't. It's like I said, the mixing don't work like that because as long as they had, because I heard somebody say, "Can you breed out a certain thing?" I mean, if that gene is still strong inside of you, you still can produce. That's why we showed you. That's why I showed one time when you see two Africans and they produce an albino because that certain gene is in them that it actually can one day create an albino because it's a mutation or a adaptation, but that turns into a mutation that takes away the melanin. All right, the brown germ. YAKub was a scientist with enormous head. Sound white. YAKub's, I'm gonna read some of that comments when I get up. YAKub was a scientist with an enormous head. He was known as the big-headed scientist. He noticed that unlike attracts and like repels, using the law of attraction, he created a person who would have little to no conscience and would challenge the original inhabitants of planet Earth. He knew the black man and the black woman contained the brown germ, the lighter of the two germs that mostly remained dormant. He knew that using a breeding process that one out of the three children bred under his technique would be lighter and weaker than the original man and woman. The new species from the original man would be without a natural conscience. Now, okay, I mean, this kind of making sense because you can, like they say, you do have three babies, you have a mixture, yes, because I have seen it. You can have a baby that's lighter and two other might be darker, so that can happen. That's what they was doing in Australia. It was called breeding out, but it was messing with the Australian, producing a light skinned baby. They took the dark skinned babies, threw them, put them to the side, and they took the light skinned babies and called them the original Australian, to where the black Australians that wasn't considered the indigenous. So yes, they did do that, and that's similar to what they saying YAKub did. Okay, but to say no consciousness, they don't control the consciousness. Genes don't control consciousness. The consciousness is in your brain and your main, in your mind. So these people, you can't take a people with consciousness and make them unconscious. They don't have that power to do that. All right. Let's go to albinism. I'm gonna show the two things. Show the other day because I wanted to explain more. All right, 7 types of albinism, but main three types of albinism. There are 3 types of albinism: OCA1, extreme albinism, lack of melanin; OCA2, typical albinism, some small measure of melanin; OC3, moderate albinism, some melanin, but far less than normal. Any black with straight hair and defective OC2 genes will produce the offspring that is identical to, and in fact, a European type offspring. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because for this albino to be created, it has to have the OCA3. All the OCAs are created from adaptation of where they lived at. So the genes, so the OCA1 comes and the OCA2 and the OCA3 attacks because of the environment they live in there with the lesser light, the food they eating, the cold weather, all this did something to the genes. And when you do something to the genes, it passes on. Like if you're the first person in your family to catch a stroke, that stroke becomes part of your gene that you can pass it on to your children, or you can pass it on to your grandchildren, right? So this is what I mean. So all these things do different ones. The OCA3 also created, I think OC2 also creates red hair. Some creates red skin, some creates blue eyes, some creates blonde hair with the blue eyes, some some create the fair skin. So we have to understand that part of gene. All right. Science.org. Albinism and the Europeans, lesson 1. North Europe affected with the OCA2 albinism, mixing in with the darker skinned Europeans in Central and South Europe. Make them lighter by giving them the gene. Most of us think of Europe as the ancestral home of white people. But a new study shows that pale skin, as well as other traits such as tallness and ability to digest milk as adults, arrived in most of the continent. Rela European skin evolved to be much lighter. During the past 8,000 years, the modern humans who came out of Africa to originally settle Europe about 40,000 years are presumed to have had dark skin, which is advantageous to the sun latitude. And the new data confirmed that about 8,500 years ago, early hunter-gatherers in Spain, Luxembourg, and Hungary also had darker skin. They lacked versions of two genes. Okay, y'all see the 24A5 and the 45A2. That led to the depigmentation of therefore pale skin in Europe today. Okay, in Europe today. But in the far north, where the low light levels would favor pale skin, the team found a different picture in hunter-gatherers. 7 people from the 7,700-year-old Matola archaeological site in northern Sweden had both light-skinned gene variants, the 24 and the 45, right? They also had a third gene, the OCA2, which causes blue eyes and may also contribute. Hold on, that might come. They also had a third gene which causes blue eyes and may also contribute to light skin and blonde hair. Thus, ancient hunter-gatherers of the far north were already pale and blue-eyed, but those of Central and Southern Europe had darker skin. So you see the OCA2 created that blonde hair, blue eyes. So that became a gene, okay? The fair skin became a gene. So when they go down to the darker people, now that gene is in them. Now they're producing lighter people. Now they're producing people with blue eyes. Now they're producing people with blonde hair, you know. Now, it's some things they can't explain, like the solid. Okay, but you'll see that black people that actually adapted to the environment, their hair turned blonde. All right. Black kids with blue eyes. And this is what I want to show. There's a few possible ways in which your friend ended up with blonde hair and blue eyes. Caucasian relatives, sometimes in the father's past, mutation in the eye color and hair genes, albinism, Caucasian ancestry. The most likely genetic explanation for your friend is that her father is a carrier of the blue eyes and blonde hair. Let's unpack what it means to be a genetic carrier. Everyone has 2 copies of each gene, one from their mom and one from their dad. Each gene can come in slightly different versions called alleles. So, for example, a gene that affects eye color could come in 2 versions, a blue eye and a brown eye. For most pigmentation genes, the darker color is strong and dormant. You only need to inherit one brown eye to see the color. The lighter colors, like blue eyes, is weaker for recessive. You won't see the light colors unless you inherit the 2 copies of the allele. I don't even know that word, but so someone with one brown and one blue will have brown eyes, even though they have the DNA for blue. Is hidden. Someone like this is called a carrier because they invisibly carry the DNA for blue eyes. A recessive gene could hide in a family and take few generations to reappear, but a 2 carriers for blue eyes have a child. They have a blue eye child. Now, this is what I'm talking about, that the gene hits. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to have a blue eye. Actually can skip. And I heard Uncle trying to explain that before one time, but actually your genes can actually skip. And that's why I was talking about DNA. We got to watch it because it's people that can have native in their DNA, but just don't show up because genes skip, you know, the farther back, and then they can't track like they saying they can, you know. That's just another story. But you see how the genes go. So for them to have that blue eyes, for them to have certain things, they had to what they call the blue eye gene that comes from the Caucasian living in the northern mountains, and eyes had to adapt to the environment by having lesser UV lights coming from the sun. Okay. Now, a new study from the same team drills down further into the remarkable data of research for genes that were under strong natural selection, including traits so favorable that they spread rapidly throughout Europe in the past 8,000 years. By comparing the ancient European genomes with those of recent ones from the Thousand Genomes Project, population geneticist Ian Matheson, a postdoc in the Harvard University Lab of Population Genetics, David Rich, found 5 genes associated with the changes in dye and skin pigmentation that underwent strong natural selection. So it's other genes, it's not just one gene that create Europeans or white skin, it's different. But then you might have this gene that lightens the skin up, but it causes red hair. You might have this that causes blue eyes, blonde hair with the light skin. You might have this one that causes the just the dark hair, with the with some green eyes. You know what I'm saying? It's all the genes that were created first, again, through adaptation of living in the environment. All right. So when we talking about the Esau thing, Esau could never be an albino, and Esau could never be a European unless somebody before them were. And then them people had to be at a certain place for them to turn into that type of European that people are talking about. Okay. The paper doesn't specifically say why these genes might have been under such strong selection, but the likely explanation for the pigmentation genes is the maximum vitamin D synthesis, said paleoanthropologist Nina Jablonski of Pennsylvania State University Park. As she looked at the two posted results at the meeting, people living in the northern latitudes often don't get enough UV to synthesize vitamin D in their skin. So natural selection has favored 2 genetic solutions to their problem, involving pale skin that absorbs UV more efficiently and favoring lactose tolerance to be able to digest the sugars and vitamin D naturally found in milk. What we thought was a fairly simple picture of emergence of depigmented skin in Europe is an exciting patchwork of selection as the populations disperse into the northern latitudes. Jablonski says this data is fun because it shows how much recent evolution has taken place. And again, when I talk about the evolution again, I believe adaptive evolution, meaning you can get faster, you can get taller, your eye color change, your hair color change. Things happen because you have to adapt. It happens to animals, it happens to humans, it happens to birds, insects, and stuff adapted. So you have to adapt to it. That's why when I showed the horse, there was actually a little animal. And by being in the environment they was in, they had to be faster because they was prey at certain places. They got bigger. Their jaws got bigger because maybe there's certain things they had to eat. You know what I'm saying? So let's go. Anthropologist, geneticist George Perry, also at Penn State, notes that the work reveals how an individual's genetic potential is shaped by their diet and adaptation to their habitat. We're getting a much more detailed picture on how selection works. Yeah, peace to the chat. Y'all like and subscribe to the Lions Den. Now this is a black child with the blue eyes. I had a couple of them. All right, so we're gonna get to it. How she produces these blue eyes. I already read this. All right. So I meant to put this with this picture, but this again showing with the blue eyes and how it comes from the Caucasian, and she has that in her ancestry. But you see, she still has dark skin. So just because a light skin messes with dark skin, they not gonna be white. A light skin messes with a white person, they're not necessarily gonna be white. If that light skinned person has dark in their blood that baby can come out dark. That baby can come out white. That baby can come out light skin. You see what I'm saying? So, and see, this is how it goes from the parent down. See, you see how the brown eyes is the dominant, but the blue eyes is still in the genes. So therefore, it's more of a chance that these parents gonna have a blue eyes. You know, if they make three children, most likely two of them is gonna have blue. Now, this is what he was talking about. YAKub was talking about when he's talking about if you have three children, one most likely gonna have light skin. So it does make it a better chance of that. So it can do that, and I do see that it happening, but not having one child and then every single child is coming out like that. So if they trying to produce multiple children, it's just they are most likely going to get a lighter skinned baby, and then they're going to get rid of the darker skin, and that's what they were talking about. Now I wanted to talk about this. This is called bleaching, right? This is called bleaching. This is the same person. She just bleached her skin. And this is an artificial way of becoming an albino because all she is albino on the side. And this is how science does. When how science learns how something works, then they can make things that produces it artificially. Just like I was showing you with the genes with the crystal. So now this is this doesn't attack the gene, it's attack the skin. Because if she have a baby, that baby's not going to come out white because she have her skin bleach. That's why with Michael Jackson, we know that ain't his children. Because Michael Jackson was dark skinned with a big nose. Okay, that's genes. None of them kids have his genes, which we know is more dominant. Okay, there's another one. This is real popular in Jamaica. It's real popular in Africa. What happens to if two albinos meet? With two albinos mate, I mean, it's just more of a likely chance of producing an albino. You see what I'm saying? But again, it has genes. Like if his parents two Africans, then sometimes it might don't. It's a chance that it might don't be albino. Albino is just that gene hits and it takes the melanin away. It has nothing to do with just because two light people is going to just automatically make a light person. That's not how genes work. You see what I'm saying? But this is artificial albino. This is not through genes. This is through taking the melanin in by putting the cream on your skin. And this is real dangerous. Okay. All right. So I put it in comparison. All right. These are things that's similar. The light gene. When we talk about the light gene, like I said, it can get passed down, but it cannot produce only one type of being because it matters what other type of genes that person have in them. That's why we have black people that look certain ways. Like every black person don't look the same in America because some of us might Japanese, and that 1-2-3% Japanese do something to your genetics, and it does do something to, and it can do something to your features. I have black family members that have Asian that looks Asian. I have black family members that's light skinned. I know people that down here that's light skinned that passes when we meet past me and they are light enough to portray as a white person. Okay, mixing with the white gene we already talked about mixing with the white gene can cause albinoism from OCA. So albinoism is not just no people catching no leprosy or whatever people saying and they just skin to turn white. That's not how albinoism works. Albino comes from a gene that does not always attack. It can come down generations, meaning it can come to your great grandchild, it can come to your son, it can come to your great 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 grandchild, but eventually it can't produce an albino. This is the agreement. No one man can create a race of people. Okay, no one man can do this or create a race of people that way, because it's simple to me for a person to tell me that somebody that back in the day knows that much about genetics. Okay, now what you ask me, what does YAKub mean? YAKub to me is him trying to explain science and using mythology. What is mythology? Mythology is not fake. Mythology means that you can use a story off of a real event, but the whole story might just don't be real. See, so he might have used a cool, you cool, made the story interesting for you to listen to it, so to where he started talking about the genetics that he understand. And he might didn't understand it like we do today. So I don't fault him for that. I don't fault none of our elders and stuff for that because they didn't have the information we had today. And evil does not equal skin color. Is black people that's evil? Is white? Is Asians? Now it's certain. Now the environment the European lived in, the way they did to each other, yes, made them more acceptable to do more evil. Meaning, like when you look at the European history, what did they do? They always ramshacked each other, taking over each other, invading each other, raping, throwing the babies in fire. And what that produced? That produced more updated weapons because the more and more you fight, the more your weaponry and your technology has to get raised because you're fighting against other people whose weapons are getting better. That's why when they came to where we were at, because we were more in peace. So our weaponry wasn't as updated as theirs because we didn't have to fight as much as they did. We didn't have to protect ourselves from other people just as much. We more married in with each other and we had peace and trades with each other. Of course, some wars went on, but it wasn't like in Europe. So, uh, yeah, this is what I was saying. I think he was trying to explain genetics and genes through a way of mythology, telling a story to get you to understand how it works. So like I said, when I'm talking about this, I'm just trying to see where he was coming from, and I see it because a lot of the stuff is a lot of stuff, is science, but it's not all the way correct because let's be for real, science is always changing. Like Elder Yasha says, science is not exact. So meaning it always changes, it always updates. Okay. So this is my presentation. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me see if I can read some before I go, let me see if I can read some comments here. Right man, our brother, he ain't man. Um, you know, so what's the link? Oh, King Judah said, what's the link? I mean, you want to come on, you come on real quick. YAKub, the first nigga on the planet to exhibit self hate. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why, like I said, it was some. I don't know what I don't know what the reason why he just wanted to create a people that just wanted to be evil. That's kind of weird, you know what I mean? I guess unconscious mean lack of spirituality. I can agree with that. I can see that. I can see that because you don't have the same spirituality, morals, and laws that we would have. So you're more acceptable of being um um savage. 1960s when the term white was created. Yes, 1960. Yes, white is a race a term that was created by a dude who wanted to create race, and that's why you got to be careful because it's white people that looks white that you would call white that actually black. I mean, like it's not a lot, but it can happen. It's like the two sisters. They both have mixed parents, what people would call black, but one is European looking and one is black. I've seen two brothers like that. One had was brown skin like me, but he had like white people hair, and then the other guy was white and he had like Negro hair, and they were actually brothers, and you would never have known that. The cream thing became popular in the '80s. Yeah, that's a form of self hate. That's a form of people, bleaching their skin because of, like I said, it's the effects of slavery. Y'all go on Lines Den. Those are the effects of slavery that I've been on. That shows you how we had self hate for our features because we was taught to hate our features. So now these products come up, we start using like permanent hair and bleaching our skin. Can a person be cloned? No. Why? Because the Most High will not put a spirit in something that devils have made. A human being cannot be made in a laboratory. The cloning of a human being is no more than sci-fi hoax. Well, again, they're cloning dogs, and this is the problem I'm trying to say. This is the problem that I have. Right, we got to stop making it seem like people can't do nothing when they're doing it. They're cloning dogs. Okay, and they got to do is use the same process. Now, is that clone gonna have is that clone gonna have a soul and all that? I don't know, and that's why they're not trying to clone a human being, and I don't think they should. But I don't know because it's they're using the cell and natural sperm, and this was the human cloning is nothing new. Yeah, I mean, people say the Sumerians was talking about the genetic engineering and doing all this stuff back in the time. So people always science never is just this is this and we pick the science. Science is studying. Science is researching for years. So something that might have started 20, 30 years ago has been updated 30 years from now. Doesn't mean it just came out the blue. Meaning it been researched and studied for all these years until they tried to get it close as right as they can. It's just that current laws because yes, it's current. Yes, it's groups that's saying it's inhumane. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think y'all should come and supporting and watching it. You know what I'm saying? I just trying to bring a science to our people, man. That I'm not no person that try to use the science as God because, like I told people, science is not created to prove there is no God. Science, evolution is not created to prove there is no God. And Uncle already said it. And people need to say this every time these atheists, every time these evolution come around. Science is not created to prove there ain't no God because it's things in science, it's things in evolution that they cannot explain. But wait, what science and evolution does, instead of them understanding it, they just claim we don't know. But they won't say it might be a divine thing because they don't want you to look at that it could be a chance that there's a God, and they don't even want you to think that. So they want you to say, you know what, we just don't know, but we're gonna find out. So that's what they do. Like when I said about the evolution, they don't have the answers to X. They do not have all the answers of how evolution started. So don't let these people come and try to take God away by using, you know, science that they really don't understand, and they're trying to use just a part that they do, and thinking that it's going to destroy God when it's never created to do that. Okay. You see, if people can be cloned, then where are all these clones? What factual proof do you have that someone is cloned? I just said cloning. I just said it didn't clone humans yet because how things work. They have groups that do not that are fighting against you for you not to do it. So if they did clone, it would be in secrecy. They would not be able to clone because it's inhumane right now. Okay, it's inhumane for them to try to clone a human because they don't know what it's going to do. They don't know how that human is going to come out. That's why they're doing animals first. And the animal cloning is working. You can clone your dog for $100,000 right now. You see what I'm saying? So yes, when all these crazy people out here talking about a clone through a machine, that's not true. Because cloning don't work like that. You have to still become a baby and grow. Yes, Jay Snake, you can clone a human. You're right. You know what I'm saying? And people need to understand, and this is the problem I have, because this is how they get on us through the science, because we're not studying, we're not keeping up what they're doing. And they're doing a lot of stuff, just like that. We found out they dropped some chemicals on the hood and was making people sick. I think they did it in Philly. I forgot what hood it was. They just admitted or dropping some type of chemical and seeing what it do to the people. But what they do is they do that, and then you might find out 30, 40 years from now. And when you find out 30, 40 years from now, that generation don't care because you didn't do it to that generation. When they killed Martin Luther King and they told you that Martin Luther King was not murdered on that balcony, he was murdered in that hospital, nobody cared in this generation. Nobody went and said, let's go ride, because it didn't happen in this generation. That's how they know how people work. They had us for all these hundreds of years of experiment. They know how we think. Bob Marley, they said they shot Bob Marley with cancer in his foot. They said Malcolm X died a certain way from the FBI. The FBI been on the bed, but people saying it's some other people. So this is what I'm trying to say, because it's years later that they know that after generation knows about to kill. You know what I'm saying? And then you got agents out here that y'all need to watch out for, that's telling you to listen to everything they say, to believe everything these people say. The same people who've been poisoning you and lying and miseducating for your whole life. So that's why when I study and I research, yes, I take it for a grain of salt because I'm a research, then I'm gonna research the criticism of that, and then make sure that what they're saying is true. Then see it, then I'm gonna look at my reality. So a person can't tell me genes don't exist because you look at genes. You see genes all day. You see a woman having a baby and a father having a baby, and you see the genes from it. You see the features. You see that this person talks a certain way because his mama and daddy talk away. All that stuff is genes. Okay. It's actually found in Nimrod's body. They are trying to clone it eventually. Yes. And that's just the things that, just be careful because think about it. Once they get this DNA, they trying to now. People don't know this. They got a place called Jurassic Park, right? They trying to make a Jurassic Park where these billionaires are taking money and they're trying to take dinosaur DNA and they're trying to create dinosaurs. That's why they're looking for these people. That's why they're looking for these pharaohs. That's why they're looking for Jesus, stuff like that, because they're trying to find DNA. They're trying to be able to clone. And Dr. York said this a long time ago. If Jesus was coming back, he was coming as a clone. That's what he said, and that's why he said that. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's why he was saying it, because he understood the clone that they was doing. He understood why they were looking and digging up these people. Be careful and believe it and follow in the Caucasian. Well, yeah, you're right. Ain't nothing I could say, but like I said, we see that they clone humans. They've been cloning animals since the 90s. So it's not about me believing anything, it's me seeing. It's me understanding the process. Understand the process of cloning and then deny it. See, anything I ever deny evolution, anything I study it. I don't sit and say this not real and don't study it. Where did they find Nimrod's body? I don't know. They even got genetic sequencers to build DNA from scratch. Yeah. And that's why I said that people just not catching up with it, because there's a lot of science. Man, there's a lot of science that's coming that they do. I seen one time, right? I'm gonna say this. I ain't gonna stay too long, but it was a thing called a dog wheel, where this guy voluntary did this government experiment, and the government experiment was taking the consciousness and put it inside a computer. Now they took his consciousness, they copied his consciousness, put it in the computer. He went inside his room. They showed him the computer, right? The computer started talking. Asked him who was he. He said his name. The computer like, that's my name. Then the computer, then the consciousness inside the computer understood that they were the same people. So what happened is he got the consciousness in the computer started panicking, because where he was at was dark. It was no time. It was nothing. He was just there. You see what I'm saying? And he's telling him, and he started begging him to destroy the computer, to kill him, to get rid of him, because he didn't want to sit somewhere where there's no time. Just imagine just sitting in a room and sitting somewhere and you can't tell what time it is. You don't know what day it is. There's nobody around you. You can go, So he's telling him, please, please, please. But they end up stopping it, and still he is trapped in that computer, and it messed his head up, because it's him actually inside of the computer, but it's his consciousness, but it's a copy of it. So this is the things that they're doing. And if you think they can't do that, I'm telling you they're doing it. You see what I'm saying? Y'all need to study and research on that. All right. Let me just see a couple more, then I'll be out. Let's see the word. Yeah. The word Yak and Ospe, but it's a derogatory word in the book. Okay. We know that a lot of the Nation of Islam got these stories from out the Bible. To me, it sounds like the Esau and Jacob story. It just sounds to another version of how he took it, and it's like I said, they flipped it around. And I think that's why a lot of these camps got this. If you go to these camps, if you look at a camp and you look at Nation of Islam, you could tell the camps teach us the same type of way as Nation of Islam. The white man is the devil. Esau. They stuff the Esau and Jacob. They talk about YAKub. A lot of other things that they teach. It's basically they're teaching black nationality and black supremacy to counterattack white supremacy, and they're teaching it through a religion. So everything in the Bible or everything in the Quran that's white is going to be bad. Everything in the Bible that's black is going to be good, and that's how they taught, and that's how it's been passed down, and that's why that's how the camps still teach it. The reason the camps are getting contradicted now because they're letting people in that looks white, and people are questioning now, just like they question Nation of Islam when his son said, "How is the white man the devil, but your God is the devil, and your God is white, and he's the Farad is white and he's your God." So all the rest of the white people are devils, but except this one, and he's God. And he's God in the human form. Because Farad is Allah in the Nation of Islam. Elijah is the messenger because he was taught by Farad. And it's that simple, okay? All right, thank you for allowing me to teach, Karima. And I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna show some more stuff. I just wanted to show the signs. I know a lot of people ain't into, signs and stuff, but I'm gonna come back and show you my Virginia slavery, the slave trade, the slave jail. I'm working on that now, and because a lot of it's people out here that I didn't know. It's people out here that don't believe slavery happened. It's people out here believe Africans didn't come over here or Israelites didn't come over here and mix in with the natives and was on the plantations, and the plantations was the reason why this European people became powerful. Okay, thank you, Karima, and salute to JJ and the Lions Den.
You're welcome.
And whenever y'all get a PayPal, let me know because I'm gonna send something to y'all. Bless y'all. All right.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
All right, peace.
I'll praise you, Most High. Yeah, that sound good, y'all. Hello. What we doing?
Hey, cook that up, Khalid.
We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. They said you got the call, they trying to blackball you. Like what they own, bro. You can't blackball a boss. The whole world, they hate Israel. The way you hate your neighbor, might as well pull the trigger on yourself. We get excited by the smoke. Every day we casting flesh. Save my treasure stored in heaven, we gon' blow the rest. They disrespected and we checked the bank, that causing kept it still. They asking others about my business, but I ain't got no instant miss. See, I still deal with ox direct. Cause your person don't mean you respect. Your outlet don't get no credit if the ox ain't in it. Money answer all things and you got all these questions. Playing Vic. Look, I employ slavery. I'll give you broke your head. Yeah, them crews in the hood, Jews in the hood. I caught them clues, now I'm good. I broke it down, he understood my all to you. Filtered through, you found a few, I'm good. We what we sold, this here exclusive. They like, hey, folk, look what you doing. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. This here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. Most I told me, be still, give a room to work. Know my movie work. Your faith ain't good, don't put the work in. In the spirit flexing, that my day job. Getting the mode out my own, I don't know what they are. Before I got the blueprint, and I'm too legit to quit. Let it spark in the dark, be a light, got it lit. Trying to map my movement, got my haters pondering. The ops set the question there, they wanna know if you still lit. It hit different, you authentic, a lot of ops pretending. We do it for the Lord, got my own motion, who are you to judge? Look, most high first, none above. Tap in the spirit, we locked in, they'll come against your plot. You know Judas said, yeah, we spit them scripts, they bailing out. Came on spaceships, then you not black. You know they tell you every Isaiah 30:20, yeah, we bad. You see what happened when they tried to rail the train up off the track. False witness, hypocrite. We throw shots back, now they feel hit. Must go get it. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me finches hit. My enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Haunt the city, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they feel. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me finches hit. My enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Haunt the city, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still.